George Pickens and the Pittsburgh Steelers had been on a collision course for quite some time. What started as an exciting young talent arriving in Pittsburgh with promise and swagger slowly turned into a tense relationship marked by frustration, immaturity, and an apparent disconnect between the coaching staff and the player. For all of his on-field production, it became increasingly clear that Pickens' off-field behavior and attitude inside the locker room were wearing thin with the organization. The tension had been bubbling for months, and despite occasional public denials, it was evident to those around the team that a parting of ways was on the horizon. Those rumors reached their boiling point earlier this offseason when the Steelers finally pulled the trigger, trading Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for draft capital. It was a move that split opinion across the NFL landscape. On the one hand, Pittsburgh had finally rid itself of a lingering distraction, a player whose maturity had been called into question repeatedly and who reportedly clashed with teammates and coaches alike. On the other hand, the Steelers had just given away one of the most talented young wide receivers in the league, a player who, when locked in, had the ability to dominate games with a rare blend of size, speed, and body control. For Pittsburgh, it was not just a football decision. It was a cultural one. Head coach Mike Tomlin has always prided himself on building locker rooms that prioritize accountability, discipline, and respect. When a player, regardless of talent, becomes too disruptive to the overall team chemistry, the Steelers historically have not hesitated to move on. From Antonio Brown to Le'Veon Bell to Chase Claypool and now George Pickens, the Steelers have demonstrated a consistent philosophy: no individual is bigger than the team. But while culture is important, talent still wins games in the NFL. With Pickens now in Dallas and Mike Williams and Van Jefferson also having departed in free agency, Pittsburgh's wide receiver room suddenly looked alarmingly thin. The only thing preventing complete panic was the early offseason acquisition of DK Metcalf. The Steelers had made a major statement by trading for the star receiver from Seattle, then promptly signed him to a new deal, positioning him as the undisputed WR1 moving forward. Metcalf brings elite physicality, contested catch prowess, and a deep ball threat that any quarterback would covet. His presence softens the blow of losing Pickens, but it does not completely erase the need for more firepower on the perimeter. And that brings us to the Steelers' current predicament. Despite the positive addition of Metcalf, Pittsburgh now finds itself in the same position it was in back in January, a team with only one legitimate outside receiving threat. Veteran Robert Woods was added in free agency, but he is clearly on the back end of his career and more of a complementary piece. Calvin Austin III remains intriguing, but he's yet to prove he can be a reliable starter on the outside. Roman Wilson, last year's third-round draft pick, is a promising slot receiver, but like Austin, he's largely unproven. The rest of the receiver room is filled out with depth pieces and special teams contributors. In short, Pittsburgh has one elite wideout in Metcalf, and then a collection of question marks. It's no surprise, then, that the Steelers have been active in exploring the market for another receiver. According to NFL insider Albert Breer, Pittsburgh made calls early in the offseason to inquire about the availability of New Orleans Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. The Saints, however, were not interested in moving him. Breer explained, the Saints got inquiries from the Browns and Steelers early in the offseason and rebuffed them, and Olave's had a really nice offseason since. Maybe someone blows New Orleans away with an offer. But he's not on the block, and I have a hard time thinking he's going to be traded. It's easy to see why Pittsburgh would target Olave. At just 24 years old, the former Ohio State star has already carved out a reputation as one of the most polished young receivers in the league. Through his first 3 NFL seasons, Olave has demonstrated exceptional route running, strong hands, and elite separation ability. Even while dealing with erratic quarterback play, he has managed to produce at a high level. However, Olave's 2024 campaign was significantly hampered by multiple concussions. The injuries slowed his production and raised some concerns about his durability moving forward. Still, when healthy, Olave is one of the league's most dangerous offensive weapons. From the Saints' perspective, keeping Olave makes sense, especially given their current circumstances. Like the Steelers, New Orleans is in something of a transitional phase. Quarterback Derek Carr's departure has left the team with questions under center, and while Jaden Daniels' name has been linked to multiple teams, the Saints themselves do not appear to have a clear long-term solution at the position. If they are indeed planning a soft rebuild, keeping a young, elite talent like Olave would be a priority. Surrounding a future quarterback with top-tier pass-catching talent is a smart move, and Olave, when healthy, is exactly that. Pittsburgh, meanwhile, has a similar problem. Despite their efforts this offseason, they too appear to lack a long-term answer at quarterback. Mason Rudolph and rookie Will Howard are currently expected to battle it out in training camp, and the team is still monitoring Aaron Rodgers, who remains a free agent after being cut by the Jets. Rodgers has expressed interest in joining the Steelers, and Pittsburgh has reciprocated that interest, but he has yet to commit. Until he signs on the dotted line, the Steelers are left with uncertainty at the most important position in sports, which makes the wide receiver situation even more important. Regardless of who ends up under center in Week 1, that quarterback will need reliable weapons. DK Metcalf alone can't carry the load. The Steelers need a WR2 who can punish single coverage, win on third downs, and stretch the field opposite Metcalf. Chris Olave would have been a perfect fit. His route precision and field awareness would have made him an excellent complement to Metcalf's physical style. Together, they would have formed one of the most dangerous receiving duos in the NFL. But it's not going to happen, not unless the Saints have a sudden change of heart. So where does Pittsburgh go from here? They still have options. The trade market could yield another opportunity. Names like Romeo Dew, Green Bay Packers, Alec Pierce, Indianapolis Colts, and even Breece Hall, New York Jets running back, but a versatile offensive weapon, have all surfaced in trade speculation involving the Steelers in recent weeks. General Manager Omar Khan has shown he's not afraid to be aggressive, and the team still has draft capital to spend. But the Olave pursuit, while unsuccessful, reveals something important about the Steelers' mindset. They are not content to simply tread water. The trade of Pickens wasn't just about offloading a troubled player, it was about building a team that is cohesive, focused, and ready to win. The acquisition of Metcalf, the pursuit of Olave, and the interest in other potential wideouts signal that Pittsburgh is going all in on building a modern, explosive offense, even without certainty at quarterback. For now, the Steelers' depth chart at receiver remains incomplete. DK Metcalf is the alpha. Robert Woods is the veteran mentor. Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson are young and promising but far from proven. Unless another move is made soon, this is the group that Pittsburgh will enter training camp with. And while it may be enough to stay competitive, it's hard to see this receiving core as championship caliber unless another domino falls. Whether that's Aaron Rodgers signing, another trade coming together, or someone like Roman Wilson breaking out, the Steelers still have work to do. Because in the NFL, having one great receiver is nice. Having two is how you win.